G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because Super Rugby Final is coming up and everybody's been asking me, Wildcard, how are you going to beat the Blues if you are the head coach of the Chiefs? Yeah, so I did a lot of research for this and hopefully I'm not going to get copyrighted for showing little bits of footage from the Super Rugby tournament. And yeah, so here are some things that I would do to try to exploit the Blues for a potential win for the Chiefs. It's going to be looking pretty tough because I think one of the main things the Chiefs are going to struggle with this weekend is the lack of hooker. They have 2 injuries on their hooker position on the weekend, including Somasoni Taukiaho. So yeah, if they can sort out the hooker, I think there is an opportunity here for the Chiefs to actually upset the Blues at Eden Park to win Super Rugby. So yes, this is how I would go about it to exploit the Blues. So first up, let's have a look at the last game the two teams played between the Blues and the Chiefs. 31 points to 17. It was quite a bit of a blowout, to be honest, for the Blues. The Chiefs actually was able to just claw themselves back into the game to make the scoreboard look a little bit better. But yeah, the Blues pretty much won the game. 50 minutes, 60 minutes in the game, it was pretty much over. And if you look at the stats, it's very interesting. The stats are actually pretty close between the two teams, despite the scoreline being quite outrageous. And one of the key things is that the efficiency of the Blues, 423 run meters out of 99 carries, whereas the Chiefs, only 344 run meters at 115 carries. So the Blues carries meters per run is actually really efficient. And what's even more important to note, and we're going to look at some video footage about this as well, is that the Blues, they didn't beat that many defenders to get this much run meters. So what it means is that the Blues were able to get a lot of meters post-contact, and that is with their 4-pack, with their strength, which means the Chiefs' defense is inefficient in making those tackles. So let's have a look at the tackle count. The Blues actually missed more tackles as well, and the Chiefs only missed 12 tackles, and the Blues has way more run meters. Yeah, so that tells you that the efficiency per run from the Blues is a lot higher. The forwards are able to get over the advantage line every time, and we're going to have a look at exactly what the Blues are doing to achieve that efficiency against not just the Chiefs, but against every team in the competition. Another thing I think the Chiefs really failed to recognize is the fact that they have a really good kicking game, much better kicking game than the Blues. So they really didn't employ that at all against the Blues, actually, missing out on a lot of opportunities. They're only 14 kicks, especially if someone like Damien McKenzie, who's literally the king of the kicking game. And yeah, it's really interesting to see. That's probably something they should improve a little bit as well. Lineouts are quite even, scrums are quite even. Like I said, the injuries might make the lineout a bit more skewed this weekend. We'll have to see how that goes. And I think the Chiefs will try to minimize set piece as much as they can. Despite the fact that the scrummaging says the Chiefs didn't lose any scrums, the Blues were overwhelmingly dominant in the scrummaging. And especially on the loose hair side, Ofa Tuangafasi for the Blues did a big number on him. And we're going to have a look at how the Crusaders, Fletcher Newell, was able to neutralize Tuangafasi in that sort of angle they like coming, try to get under you and try to angle in on you a little bit. That little bit of boring in technique that he uses on the against the Chiefs, which found a lot of success when they played in this game. So we're gonna have a look at how the Chiefs should deal with that. So yes, the Blues is managed by Vern Cotter, and they are absolutely a bunch of rugby geniuses. I have to give them credit for that. This Blues team started the season trying to play a similar style they did last year with Beauden Barrett in the team, and they don't have Beauden Barrett this year. And they've really struggled a little bit in the first couple of games. They're really not able to play that same style they did last year. So it was basically up to the Blues to evolve or perish. And the Blues evolved and they came up with just something that's absolutely brilliant. They completely changed the way they play the game. No longer they use it. They don't even, the number 10 is really not a 10. It's probably a fullback. So Harry Plummer really isn't a playmaker at all. He hardly does any playmaking for the Blues. All the decision making is come out of the 9 position, whether it's Finlay Christie or what's the other fellow's name, or Funaki. It's all the decision making is out of the 9, and it's all around quickly crashing the ball. And the Blues over the season are actually starting to realize as well the fact that they don't have a playmaker, they don't use a playmaker, means that they don't really need the centers. So the Blues literally plays 4 wingers on the back line. Caleb Clark, AG Lamb at 12. Rico Ioane, let's face it, Rico has been pretending to be an outside center for the last few years now. So he's actually still a winger. Mark Talea winger. So they literally have 4 wingers and 2 fullbacks. And out of the 2 fullbacks, Steven Perofeta is actually one of the very few fullbacks likes to kick the ball away. So he has one of the highest run meters, if not the highest run meters in the entire competition, because when he gets the ball, he runs the ball a lot more than kicking the ball away. So Harry Plummer is actually the one that does all the kicking game as almost a fullback role. So yeah, that's a very interesting to note that the Finlay Christie, the number 9, is actually the playmaker. And how do they, now you might be asking, Walker, so what do they do with 4 wingers? They use the wingers like they are forwards. They just pummel them through like they are forwards, pick and go. Mark Talea, I can't tell you how many times he has picked and go. In fact, Mark Talea has been involved in more drives, probably more than any other back in the entire competition. So they have to evolve, and that's how they came out with. Without Beauden Barrett, all the work has shifted to the forwards, and all the backs has to accommodate how the forwards play. And then, when the forwards has done sufficient enough damage, close enough to try line, then they spread the ball out on the backs, but just there to pass the ball to the winger, to whoever's out at the wing to score the try. That is basically the essence of the Blues strategy. So let's have a look at some of the stats between the 2 teams. This is basically the most recent 6 games between the 2 teams, and I don't want to go all the way back. And in fact, the Chiefs, I actually taken out the last game, which was against the Moana Pacifica, and that was a blowout game. So I've taken the game next one down, which is the Waratahs game, slightly closer. So I don't want to inflate the stats too much just because of a weak team. So overall, this is kind of what you've been looking at for the last 6 games. The main Chiefs' advantage is goal kicking. Harry Plummer's goal kicking is nowhere near as good as Damian McKenzie. Damian McKenzie is 76.92 over the last 6 games, whereas Harry Plummer only 69%. Yeah, so that is one area the Chiefs has a little bit of advantage. I think the Chiefs will try to exploit that, like they've done in so many seasons, to try to kick those penalty goals. But the one thing that the Chiefs really need to do is not to just go for penalty goals right away. They really need to emphasize in wearing out the Blues forwards and really taking out the Blues' ability to score, because this is the mistake the Brumbies made last week. They tried to kick penalties, but they were not able to score enough points if the Blues are scoring tries on the other end, right? You're going to get outscored. It's 5 points. Even Harry Plummer don't kick the goal. You're not going to be able to keep out the score just by kicking 3 points. And the Blues are one of the most disciplined team in the competition. 10.3 penalties on average given out, whereas the Chiefs, 11 penalties overall. And if you actually look closer in the stats, the Blues actually give out quite a lot of penalties if you put pressure on them. So they lost to the Crusaders, and there was a very close win over the Hurricanes. So if you put pressure on them with your 4-pack, they will give out those penalties. So it is really up to the Chiefs to not just let the Blues sit back and rumble the forwards forward and, kick 3 points and then just let them come back on the front foot again. You really have to make their forwards do a lot of work to defend and to take out some of that edge some of that energy out of the forwards. And also, when you put pressure on them, instead of just kicking for 3, you will get those penalties in your favor as well. So the Blues, it's not just perfect without any faults. They will crack if you put pressure on them as well. So yes, outside of that, let's have a look at some of the actual effectiveness of the Blues attack. So this is the Blues versus the Brumbies. What they do really well is they try to punch through. They try to crash ball, like one pass crash ball, and try to find a fracture in the defense. And once they find the fracture in the defense, it's just pick and go and just try to break through that momentum, keep that momentum going. And when the momentum stops or slows down, they will go wide again and try to one ball crash, and then it's just rinse and repeat. That is the pure game plan. I'll have a look at here. This is a very good example here for the Blues. See here, they just gonna go one pass, crash, really didn't get over the vantage line, so they're gonna crash again. Really didn't get over the vantage line here again, so they're gonna crash again. Again, this one did not really get over the vantage line, but Christie looks up, he sees a gap. Now there's a break. Now they're going forward, and now this is a fracture in the defense. What they do? Pick and go. Again, Caleb Clark, like I said, they just play the wingers like they're for pick and go. Another pick and go. Okay, so now that The defense slowing down, not going for it anymore. Pick and go, not going for it anymore. Getting really close. Again, Hoskins to Tutu almost could pick and go himself, but one pass because the forward momentum has stopped. And this is basically the game plan for the Blues. The Blues, they use their backs basically like their forwards. Use their 4 wingers basically like additional forwards. So here's Rico Ioane crashing through like a forward. Boom, right there, right? And guess who's gonna run next? Pick and go, Mark Talea. You see what I mean? So they really like to like draw in the opposition forwards in the defense tight areas and use their faster wingers to try to outmatch the forwards in those tight areas. And this is another thing that the Blues like to do in their attack. Next up, another thing the Blues, you know how we talked about the efficiency, how the Blues are able to get over, 433 run meters with only 99 carries. This is another thing they do to just get themselves over the advantage line. They do this thing where they they basically have one guy crashing through. They have the teammates pushing that player forward if the opposition don't pull the ball carrier to the ground immediately. So this is something that the Blues like to do to get over the advantage line as well, just to pile everybody in like this, right? Ball carrier through. Both the Brumbies player made the mistake to go high, and you know what happens now is, how do they get over the advantage line? The teammates will just push him through. See? And now there's again, Brumbies high. Just push him through. Keep driving. So how do you deal with this? The Crusaders is the most successful team in dealing with this Blues attack. Basically, one guy goes low, one guy goes high. The low guy shuts down the ball carrier forward momentum. One guy goes high to basically stop him from offloading to any player. So just like we'll see a bit of a good defense here from the Crusaders here. So you can see that one guy low already here. Next ball, again, one guy low. Always make sure the legs are shut down so they can't just do the drive. One leg taking the legs out here from number 6. Again, one guy low. The George Bow. Again, make sure you take the legs out to stop them from go forward. Again, low, always low. Yeah, the Blue Scrums has been very dominant throughout the season, especially on the loose air side, up against just about any team. Both Ofa Tu'ungafasi and Josh Fusitua likes to get underneath somebody, underneath the tight head, and then just kind of going in on an angle. And we can see right here, as an example, against the Chiefs. So you can see here, Tu'ungafasi, he's going to get underneath George Dyer here and just go straight in and try to push under his chest and push him right up. Yeah, and there is a penalty, and there's an easy try for Hoskins Tutu. And this has been an issue for a lot of teams, and the best team that has dealt with the issue, and this is pretty much like the textbook way to deal with it, this is how the Springboks deal with it, is to really, what's called the docking from the Springboks, is really for the tight head prop. Just push his chest down, like a ship sinking into the docks, and just really use your chest, your right shoulder to ping down the loose head prop. So Fletcher New here has done a great job against not Tu'ungafasi, but Josh Fusitua in their game against the Crusaders. As you can see, Fletcher Newell already has his shoulder pinged on top of Fusitua's head, and Fusitua is already angling downwards as a result. As you can see here, when the push comes in, you can see that Fusitua is trying to do the same thing that Ofa Tu'ungafasi is doing and trying to get underneath and try to get Fletcher Newell to fold in. But he was not able to do so because the angle, the fact that he's pinging his chest down, Fusitua just end up banging his own neck, and he's not able to actually fold the tight head prop in like Tu'ungafasi did against the Chiefs. Now let's take a look at the Blues lineout. So the Blues lineout is one of the biggest weapons, especially with a lineout drive, and this is basically their bread and butter when it comes to their attack. And we can see here, they love this sort of 6-man lineout setup with a forward double as the halfback, and then they just have everybody committed to the lineout as the forwards, and they just try to, overwhelm the opposition with this setup. As you can see here, the halfback is joining in now. one of the big reasons they do this is they try to catch the opposition off guard by having a back involved in the lineout as a halfback, right? And then they suddenly have an advantage with an extra forward in the lineout, and that's where they get the forward momentum going. So this is one where the Chiefs made the mistake of putting the winger in the train tracks. So the Chiefs are basically having one forward short in terms of defending this line out more. So this is what happens when they make that mistake, and this is exactly what the Blues want. This guy here has no idea what's going on, and suddenly the Blues are pounding themselves forward, and it's just too late to defend that. And this is exactly what the Blues look for when they set up for these line out mauls. Now, sometimes the Blues do have a halfback involved, and usually that's because they want to go for a play. So how do we actually beat the Blues? So the Blues actually, their 4-pack does a lot of their work. So the defensive line is actually a little bit slow because they wanted to keep everybody in line. So you can see that the Blues line is pretty much a pretty standard looking line, right? Everybody's kind of like in a bit of a V shape. But if you look at the Chiefs line, they do the international test style, the South African style, where they have someone rushing forward. So you can see the Chiefs line is clearly rushing forward against Hack. So this one here, the Chiefs have a forward here. They couldn't do the rush forward, but pretty much a lot of times Chiefs do this sort of, you can see the Chiefs line does a rush forward like this. Here's against the Reds, someone's cutting forward. This is something the South Africans like to do. And there's another one, the Chiefs. The line's already rushing forward to cut out potential long plays. But this defensive structure is actually not very effective against the Blues, because the Blues, like I said, they very rarely go long anyway. They just keep pounding you in the short ball. So this sort of like long, kind of like rushing out to try to cut out the long options is not really an issue. So this is something that I think the Chiefs need to change up a little bit. Whereas, because the fact that the Blues have a line that moves out rather, in a rather methodical sort of way, there is options for the kicking game. And I think that is the big front the Chiefs will have to win the game. So there's a lot of space back here. There's a lot of space potentially back here. And then, as you can see, there's a lagging behind, so there potentially could be a short crash ball option here for the Chiefs. So one of the things that really good about Damian McKenzie, he's already has shown this before, is a little chip behind with this sort of staggered defensive line structure. So here's one for Damian McKenzie against Red in the quarterfinal, little chip behind. And this is exactly the move that the Chiefs need to do against this sort of defense line from the Blues. And the second one is that the Blues kicking game is very, very basic. Not basic, very just textbook. Very textbook kicking game. So the Blues likes to play in this area, in this zone here. So basically between the 10 and the 22. And the Blues are pretty, if they end up somewhere here, so if the Blues end up between their own 10 and halfway, they will kick long into your 22. If the Blues end up just outside their own 22, as you can see here, they will kick from here to just about halfway. Because their whole goal is to try to get you to somehow return the ball inside your own. They try to get the ball basically inside their own, the opposition, get the ball back in the opposition around this line between around the 10-meter line, and they're pretty happy to run the ball from 40 meters out to try to build towards a try with their forwards. So this is the area the Blues wants to play, and when it comes to the kicking game, the Damian McKenzie and the Chiefs has a much better kicking game overall. So Damian McKenzie will try to exploit one side of the field, and then they will have who's this guy? I forgot his name. But this is the Chiefs kicking game. They will try to stretch you from left and right, and this is something that they really need to look at. Again, this is one of the good examples of a kicking game that will work against the Blues. Another thing that the Chiefs does really well with the kicking game is the box kick, and they do this thing where they will do a box kick up, and they'll have two players, usually the two centers, which the Blues don't have, ironically, and to try to ping down the ball receiver. They don't really contest that often, unless it's like really good position. Usually the goal is just to get there, make the tackle, and get the turnover on the breakdown. Just like this. Tupaya, 1 center. Antolino down 2 centers. Get the jackal, penalty. That's very effective from the Chiefs. This is the favorite, one of the favorite moves from the Chiefs. And they do this as well near the sideline. This is another one. There's another one here. So they like to ping it near the sideline here as well. But this one here, where it's from their own 22 to their own 10-meter line, or their own 40-meter line, which is around here. This one is very dangerous here. So this one I would actually recommend not to do. I would actually tell them to try to do the other 2 kick instead, and this one will be very effective as well, because these ones here really puts in the zone that the Blues are not really happy to play in. Whereas this one, you're in the zone that the Blues, if the Hurricanes player obviously missed, this is a player the Blues really like to have a go at. Finally, how do you attack against this Blues team? Like I said, the Blues are a big 4-pack. The way to beat the Blues, and has been consistently shown throughout the season, is to shift the ball pack from one side of the field to the other. So here's one from the Crusaders. You basically go all the way out to one end, and you switch back to the other side to make the 4, and then basically their 4-pack can't keep up with the shift. See? You go open one side, and you come back the other way, and suddenly there's a fraction of defense, because all the forwards are disconnected from where the backs needs to be. So that's one for the Crusaders, and here's another one for the Chiefs. Again, scrum is a bit of an issue. This is the Chiefs have done this themselves. Scrum a bit of an issue here. And again, you just have all the forwards. You take a crash ball center field, and it's really important here. You can tell that AJ Lamb here, despite the fact it's wearing number 13 jersey, he doesn't really quite understand his role as a center, because once he's got let go here, he really needed to be here, because this is his center. This is his role. Here's the fact that he's not recognizing that because he's not used to playing center. So that's potentially an issue that he can exploit. In fact, ideally, he doesn't get involved in this breakdown at all. He should be shifting out here already. So let's have a look at another one. So he goes out. Again, just shifting the whole 4-pack out, and they just can't catch up. The 4-pack is just all, you can see that the 4-pack can't get there. And because like I said, you're playing 4 wingers, right? You stretch the 4-pack, and you have AJ Lamb wearing number 13 jersey. Shouldn't be Papa Lee. This tackle that here should be AJ Lamb. So that's another thing they can do. And finally, the Crusaders are showing us, again, just switching the point of attack from left to right. Really getting all their 4-packs starting to run across the field. Right, they're all flooding over. Quickly, guys, get there. And then you just switch it back to the other side. Suddenly, there's just all the big forwards are running back and forward like this, you see? And it's try time. So that is the effective way to counter the Blues defense, and that is really one way to build fatigue into the Blues 4-pack. And I think with the chopping tackle to stop the Blues going forward, and when you do attack, stretch the forward from left and right. Kicking game, try to keep the kicking game close to the sideline, and then try to kick it into between the 40-meter line and 22-meter line, and that's the area you want to target. And then just really keep the Blues playing inside their own half and avoid playing the game in your half. And hopefully the hooker isn't going to be too much of an issue. Do not go for 3 points right away, because that's just going to give Blues forwards, and then you really try to rule out the Blues forwards. The Blues forwards scores a lot fewer tries in the second half than they do in the first half. So if you can weather the storm in the first half, you can also put in some few punches to wear down the 4-pack in the first half. Second half, the game is ripe for the taking. The Blues really hasn't performed well in the second half in recent times, even against the Brumbies. If you wear out the 4-pack, and you will have opportunities there to win the game. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. If you think that the Chiefs can't win the Blues, I actually think it's a very difficult task. Depends, because the team hasn't been announced yet. Depends on the hooker situation. If the Chiefs still has, decent hooker options, I think the Chiefs, with what I've outlined, can actually win the game. And let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys this weekend to see if any of my predictions could come to fruition.